I'm inspired by my own white glove experience. I had one and it was so thoughtful and it was worth every penny. That's exactly what I want our customers to kind of feel when they're shopping online. What we're developing and building is how do we really make it a seamless experience?
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, we have Amanda Carroo, all the way over from Denver. She's the Global Director of Digital at America's Ecom at Fjällräven. Amanda brings a unique lens to the conversation with roots in the agency world and deep brand side experience at companies like Pact and Fjällräven. She spent her career building teams, driving customer-centric growth, and translating heritage brands for the digital era. At Fjällräven, she leads e-commerce strategy across the Americas and plays a key global role in transforming digital experiences while staying true to the company's durable, responsible design ethos. In this episode, we dig into what it takes to scale e-commerce with intention, from sustainability storytelling and tech stack innovation to team structure and campaign strategy. Let's get into it. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. Well, I always like to start off to learn a bit more about your career journey. So why don't you kick us off with how you got into the e-com space and how you ended up at Sweden's best kept secret?
Absolutely. Well, I would say, my past is my undergrad degree is in marketing and fashion design. So I always had a little bit of a lean into wanting to be into the apparel space, and kind of furthering that. My true passion too is data. So going back to school, I mastered in data and analytics, and I think it's such a partnership. Blend right now of what I do in e-com, right? It's blending that love of being in apparel and the passion for a product with really kind of being more analytical. Kind of going from there is, I'm blending a lot of my passions, and I've gone back and forth from agency side to brand side. And I think that's really given me an exposure to a wide range of industries and fast-paced, problem solving. I think working agency side, you're kind of always you're working with different brands and kind of driving to be a little bit more strategic, and you don't really get to see the full picture. You're just helping with a snapshot from that. And I think then working brand side, while I was working agency side, I wanted to see the big picture. And I think that's where I went in-house, and that brought me closer to really, building long-term success and seeing the strategy from start to finish. And I think that's really kind of blended, being able to think quickly, but strategically. And I think that balance, has really kind of led me to where I am today. And I think it also really kind of helps me build cross-functional teams that I can really stay focused, but, adapt to that kind of fast environment that we have. And I really like to empower individuals within that space too. So kind of leading different variations of teams, I think that kind of helps me bring everybody together. Again, coming from agency where you're working with so many different groups to an in-house team where now I kind of run so many different groups and trying to get them all, aligned and heading towards the singular North Star.
Makes sense. And I know that, hopefully I pronounce this correct, but Fjällräven is one of the top brands, obviously the top brand for Phoenix. So obviously your mission's all about inspiring people to walk in nature. Like you chatted about a bit before, I'm from Canada, so I'm actually quite familiar with the brand. I've been to the store. It's beautiful. How do you feel like you kind of bring that mission into the digital space? How have you kind of taken all those different elements that you might get from the brick and mortar store, from interacting with the product, and translate that to online? Maybe talk to us a bit about that.
I think it's a really great question. And I think, in general, what I love about Fjällräven, and I know that's such a hard name to pronounce, and everybody kind of also associates us with the red fox here in the Americas versus sometimes trying to pronounce the name. But I think the Swedish mindset is just really humble. And I think, we're not always shouting about, our amazing quality, our environmental responsibility that's kind of built into every product. But in digital, we really kind of want to bring those stories and the reason for our gear to life. I think you get to have that with a real person as you walk into a retail store. They get to kind of show you all the details of the gear that we have. I think what's really special is right now we're kind of shifting on our PDPs, and the way we do studio imagery and the way that we're really kind of diving in with product is how do we show some of those USPs and some of the like hidden gems to a product. And so you're going to see some of our creative follow that as we kind of realize customers might not know that we've built everything to be repairable. It's such conscious design. And I think people need to understand and have that pointed out. Even myself, I think I'm still finding like little wins in products where I'm like, oh, I had no idea this had an internal zipper that was here and it's for this reason, or a hook here, or, a hood that can come out for this specific purpose. And I think those details, we need to really kind of highlight them so they don't get lost. And I think from a digital perspective is how do we really weave in, some of the beautiful content about sustainability. And we do that through kind of our emails and post-purchase journeys, really trying to inspire people. I think our care and repair content really helps kind of accentuate that as well, is we really kind of lean into how do you make your gear last for a really long time. Again, I think we're humble, and I think the site really does a great job of sharing some of this, but it's really, you kind of have to dig sometimes. And we're starting to really bring that to life a little bit more in some of those commercial spaces like the PDP pages, where we can tell a little bit more of that story. And so we're embedding some of that content now onto the page or through some of those instructions that really kind of guide customers to maybe dig a little bit deeper. I think we also try to really bring the site, not only as you can imagine, as I'm driving commercial and shopping and talking about products, but we have 7 different classics right now, and I don't know if a lot of people know of how do we bring people into nature through multi-day trekking events. And I think they can experience using their gear and getting out firsthand. And, we bring some of those stories to life a little bit more of people on the trail through our digital experience. And I also invite a lot of our customers to experience that with us.
Very cool. And I'm curious, obviously you look over the Americas, so Canada and US. Do you see differences within those two countries or even within the US as a whole? Because it sounds like some of some of the brand's core mission, like nature, sustainability, some of those things I think represent a lot of what Canadians and maybe certain folks in the US, depending on which state you're in. So yeah, maybe talk to us a bit about like, do you factor that into your targeted ads or how you folks build the website, depending on the website or the region that you're advertising to?
Absolutely. I think it's becoming increasingly more diverse and regional. When I started it over 3 years ago with the company, I think we saw a lot more in the same similar trends in the Americas between Canada and the US specifically. And I think we're really starting to see those kind of diverge as we move forward, especially right now. And we're seeing different macro trends out there within business. Canada Post, where you going on strike has definitely been, something that we had to work through. And it really does, it doesn't bode well for confidence of consumer shopping online when a major carrier, kind of goes down. And so kind of reflecting and having to pivot strategies to kind of handle certain situations. That's one way that we have to kind of really see a difference between those two markets specifically. But second is the product in which the individuals and the consumers in these locations are leaning into is starting to become there are similarities, but it is diverging, and it's really interesting. I think the Canadian customer right now really knows us for our trekking and very our core, and they're really into our core products, right? Our trekking trousers, a little bit more some of our jackets, whereas you see a little bit more lifestyle out of the US. And again, similar trends there, but we do kind of have to match that when we're thinking about our customer journeys, how we're talking to individuals through email marketing, through digital experiences, through the paid advertising, et cetera. We do shift some of our storytelling. I think there's always going to be a thread, and that's from the brand perspective, but then we will continue to regionalized. And I think that's kind of where we're going even more so, is how do we get personalized through that, and a little bit more regionalized to really make sure that we're speaking to the customer and what they want.
Pretty cool. And just pulling on that thread, you mentioned that offering white glove experiences is something that's really important and core to your strategy.
Yeah.
What does that mean practically, and how are you delivering that online? Do you have some kind of examples or some things that come to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a term that it's just so funny. I've kind of brought this up as is it's my mission, as we're not there quite yet, but that's where we're on our way. And this is kind of my North Star for my team of the service that I want to build online. You know, our products are premium and technical, and we really want our customers to feel that quality, not just in their gear, but through the entire experience. I think the goal is to provide and support people, you know, in investing into that quality and that long lasting. And I think I'm inspired by my own white glove experience. I had one, and it was so thoughtful, and it was worth every penny. And that's exactly what I want our customers to kind of feel when they're shopping online. And I think that's what that means to me. And then kind of what we're developing and building is, how do we really make it a seamless experience? How do we really kind of give you the ability to shop, find what you're looking for, and it just be kind of an ease, right, from start to finish, and then post journey as well. How I'm bringing that to life is, I think we're currently developing, Kaylin. I think it's not 100% there, but I think we've developed a lot in some of our automations and our post-purchase way we're talking to customers right now. But a lot is in the works as of right now, because it's kind of our new North Star in ecom.
Very cool. And just to continue on that, we had talked a bit about Sweden's best kept secret, which was obviously a campaign, very successful, that was ran. So maybe talk to us a bit about the thought process going into launching that campaign. What were the expectations, and ultimately how you feel about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, we chose Sweden's best kept secret because I think Sweden constantly ranks as one of the best places to live and one of the happiest places on earth. And it's just from even getting to travel there myself, it's a real gem. And I think people in North America really aspire, to that lifestyle, close to nature, sustainably focused, embracing some of that simplicity. And, I think our audience, we wanted to tap into that feeling and what people were seeing in North America, leaning into some of those articles and some of that, aspirational essence of Sweden. And I don't think the secret's quite out yet with us in our brand. And I think we wanted to kind of add a little fun to that storytelling, which is, kind of blending that in, and connecting with customers, and kind of using the kitschiness of, we're Sweden's best kept secret. You may know us from the Konken, which is something that definitely popped and is known around the world with our backpack. But we're more than a backpack. We're known for our trousers, and I think we're more of a trekking brand than anything. And I think that kind of kitschy phrase has really allowed us to kind of play and be unique and authentic to ourselves, and be able to kind of bring in that, like, the Swedish touch, which I think is so important for us, and is again just a reason where I think a lot of people love the brand. It's just kind of a connection, I think, that builds loyalty from day one. It's just builds, a connection and something for brands. We needed to understand what kind of set us apart too, right? There's a lot of brands in the outdoor space, and really kind of connecting to our Swedish ties and playing into that, I think, is where customers can also find something to gravitate towards, and kind of builds that long lasting connection for us.
Yeah. And with obviously big success on the marketing front, you need to make sure that you have the infrastructure, the CRM, the platform, all the kind of back end technical stuff to make it work. I know that you folks had thought about doing some kind of CRM work. I know a mutual of ours, Brick Taylor, she really
Yeah.
likes to work on platform and technology stuff, and does a lot of transformations. Maybe talk to me a bit about how, once you've kind of put forth this campaign, you're going to see more demands, you see more clients, how you adjust your tech stack to effectively be able to meet those demands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love that you brought up Britt. She's absolutely amazing. Such a wonderful human, and I know her podcast too with you was absolutely fantastic. I think kind of leaning in. I also really love kind of building our tech stack, looking at different solutions. How do we get to be more innovative? And I think here at Fjällräven and Phoenix, we're really kind of diving in right now, looking at our tech stack and how do we best utilize and move forward and be cutting edge. I think, we are in the midst of upgrades. And so I can't say that, we're fully there yet. But we did just recently do a CRM upgrade because we've got loyalty coming down the pipeline. So we'll be launching into loyalty programs as well. But I think, with the CRM being the first to come for us, is it's allowing us to get even more personal. We're already regional in nature. We already kind of speak to our different regions. We're a global brand. We've already really kind of developed our tonality and how we're working within each of those. But I think kind of bringing that, and we've also really invested into our data and analytics and different talents, talented individuals, and kind of coupling that right now. I think that just means we are furthering our personalization and really kind of talking to the customer in a unique and just personalized way. I think it means a smoother, more meaningful experience. And I think that really is going to drive stronger engagement and, better long-term growth for us.
Yeah, and one thing you mentioned, which I've heard from other folks in your industry, is that a lot of these customer segments are very loyal. So, for example, they buy high quality things, they take care of them. They don't want to own 10,000 backpacks or 10,000 t-shirts. They really want to zone in. And like you mentioned, everything's built to be repaired in case there is something that comes up. How do you think about customer lifetime value? Because in a sense, the cheaper a product, the more you have to replace it. That's one framing of thinking about it. The others, the more high quality, the more virality you get because people tell about. So yeah, maybe talk to us a bit about how you try and think about lifetime value and as you're kind of building for the future and designing stuff that could in theory last decades, like maybe not so good for customer lifetime value KPIs for an ecom, for a head of ecom, but maybe talk to us a bit about how you think about it.
I do. I love that you kind of point that out. And I know everyone kind of leans into that as we do lean in. And we, I think if you go to this site, we have a promise from our CEO who really talks about making sure that you're leaning in, Martin, and the rest of the company is really about using your gear long term, right? We have so many really beautiful stories of individuals and families that have purchased a jacket or a pair of trousers in the 1970s and 80s and still have them today. And I think that is a testament to our product and our quality. But I think kind of leaning into, yes, our lifetime value, how we really think about that is we do, obviously, we want to get the people into our gear, and I think you can still increase and get them into a variation of products, Kaylin, in looking into our trousers and having a backpack and having a jacket. I think it's core. We want them to fall in love with those pieces, utilize those pieces, but we also really look at success as being able to share. You don't have to always continue, we have a resale platform, preloved, so you can love your gear and then also kind of share that with somebody else. And then we also want that gear to continue on, right? Is we want it to be preloved and continue its journey for the long term there. And so I think as we think about lifetime value, how we look at our customers, and we're not looking at the quantity in which they purchase. Yes, that is a measurable metric in which we look at, but we also look at how they start to care and how they interact with us on their, in terms of their repairability, or how they may be looking into and how we offer different services, like pre-loved, for them to put their gear on so that it can continue the journey on.
Yeah, that's great. And as we look to wrap up, what's one thing that you think exists now that won't exist going into 26 or 27 when it comes to e-com in general?
I thought these were really fun questions to kind of lean into. I think this one's a really interesting question of I don't think things move as fast as sometimes people really think they do in the e-commerce space. I don't think things phase out as fast as we sometimes expect. And I think one thing we're definitely still moving away from is that one size fits all approach, especially in e-commerce. And I don't believe an AI only solution is the right route either. I think at the end of the day, people are really valuing authenticity and like a personalized experience that truly resonates. And I think that's something technology can't just fully deliver on its own, but we'll really kind of still need some of that personalized connection. So
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Amanda. This is a fantastic episode. Really, really appreciate it.
thank you very much.
The e-commerce toolbox expert perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the e-commerce toolbox expert perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.